Okay, so I'm going to have a go at the next arrays exercise in top interview questions on Leetcode. It's called MoveZeroes. Given an integer array nums, move all zeros to the end of it while maintaining the relative order of the non-zero elements. Note that you must do this in place without making a copy of the array. So for example, given 0, 1, 0, 3, 12, I need to output 1, 3, 12, 0, 0. Given just 0, output 0. The constraints are the number of numbers is between 1 and 10 to the 4, and the value of the numbers is an integer between minus 2 to the 31 and 2 to the 31 minus 1. Could you minimize the total number of operations done? Okay, so let's have a think about how we're going to do this. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to scan over the array and I'm going to remember an index of the current non-zero value that we've seen. So my non-zero index, I'll call it NZI, starts off at 0, and then we scan through the array. My non-zero index stays at 0 because we see a 0. So if we see a 0, we're going to do nothing. If we see a 1, I'm going to insert this 1 at the non-zero index. So this 1 goes into position 0. And I'm going to add 1 onto the non-zero index. Then I'm going to carry on with my scan through the array. I see a 0, I do nothing. I see a 3, I put it at the non-zero index, which is currently 1, and I add 1 onto the non-zero index. I see a 12, I put it at the non-zero index, which is currently 2, and I add 1 onto the non-zero index. That becomes 3, and then I've got to the end of the array, so I terminate that first loop. Next, I'm going to loop from the non-zero index to the end of the array and just insert zeros, and I think that that's the answer. Now they did say, could I minimize the number of operations? So I wonder if I could replace, let me have another think about this. Okay, I'm just going to have a second think about this. No, I'm going to do it in this array because I'm trying to minimize the number of operations and I'm trying to get out of doing that second loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the 0. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to see the 1. I'm going to put the 1 at the non-zero index, which is currently 0, and increase non-zero index by 1. But what I'm also going to do is put a 0 in the current position. Then I'm going to see 0, do nothing, see 3. I'm going to put it at the non-zero index, which is 1, and increase 1 onto it, but also put 0 at that position. Then I'm going to see 12. I'm going to put it at the non-zero index, which is there, but also get rid of it and put 0. I can increase that by 1. So I'm not sure which one's better, but I think I'm going to do this and then I'll have a think later about whether that's done it in less operations. At least it means, I don't think it has done it in less operations because I'm putting zeros in and then I'm replacing them again with a number, whereas the first way I was just writing to number once. But I'll do it this second way. So let's have a go at that. Okay, so we're moving the zeros in the set. We're not returning anything from the method. We're actually doing it to the array by ref. So let's have a go at what I said. So I'm going to loop through the array once. Now, if nums at I is a 0, I need to do something, and if it isn't, I need to do something else. Now let me just remind myself. Okay, so if it is a 0, we do nothing. If it's not a 0, we make it a 0 and then put it at the non-zero index and add 1 onto the non-zero index. So non-zero index equals 0. Int val equals nums at I. Nums at I equals 0. And nums at non-zero index equals val. I can reduce the number of operations a bit here, but I'm just going to non-zero index. I'm just going to finish the job and then see how to reduce the number of operations. 1 3 12 0 0. So that works. Now, for a start, I can say I don't need this. I never would have needed that. I could just say if it's not equal to that, then do this. We're not doing anything if it is equal to 0. Now, if the non-zero index is not equal to I, if we're still at the start of the list, for example, when we saw if there was a 1 at the beginning, we wouldn't need to do anything. So here I can say non-zero index is not equal to I. Now I'm saving the value. Now, because we know it's not equal to I don't need to save the value. I can just put it straight into the new position and then set this position at 0. And I can increment the non-zero index in that instruction, because the ++ is after the variable name. It will happen after doing this operation. So I think that is the most efficient way I can think of. I think there may be a better way, but that's my solution. We've got a wrong answer. Input 2 1, and we ended up with 1 0. Okay, 2 1. I think that this test here is not good, because I need to increment the non-zero index if otherwise I'm overwriting the value. What I was doing is I was doing nothing with the 2 because the non-zero index was in the same place as the 2, so I didn't have to move the number. So here I could say if non-zero index is not equal to I, then do that. But then I'm doing the if statement. So I might as well just do that. There is two. No, okay, this is what it should have been. It should have been like that, but whatever, we're going to have to increase 1 onto the non-zero index. So I think I'm just going to get rid of that check and just move the number into the same position. That's not going to work. Okay, so I do need to say if non-zero index is not equal to I, then set it to 0. What I was just doing then is I was moving the number into the position, but if the position was the correct position already, I was then setting it to 0 after. So I think that is the correct way of doing it, but I need to increase 1 onto non-zero index afterwards. So 2, 1. Okay, so this is my final solution. So I'm going to set the non-zero index to 0. For each number in the loop, I'm going to say if the number is not equal to 0, then I'm going to move it to its non-zero index place. And if the non-zero index is not currently at that position, I'm going to set the number to 0 to save doing that second loop. And then whatever happens, we add 1 on to non-zero index. So that's my final solution. Hopefully it will work this time. So that's accepted this time. Let's have a look. Okay, so most people do a very similar thing where runtime is all around about the same, but we beat only 30%. There may have been a way of reducing some if statement. Memory usage. There seems to be a way of doing it with much better memory usage. I'm not sure what the numbers on this mean. It says kilobytes, but it clearly isn't that we used an extra 11,000 kilobytes, but I don't know. But that's my solution to MoveZeroes. So thanks for watching.